Hello, everybody. This is Emma Jane here with the Future Perfect Project. So happy to see you all. Wearing my watermelon earrings to feel fun and flirty today. Nice to see you, Z. We are the Future Perfect Project, and we are a grant-funded organization, an initiative of the Windrider Institute, and we provide free arts programming to LGBTQIA plus youth, which is an incredible thing. And every Monday we talk to artists to hopefully inspire our queer artists. And so we have a very special guest tonight who is joining us right now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We go. Hi!
Hello, hi.
Thank
Oh
you
my
so
God.
much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Us too. I'm Emma. I'm with the Future Perfect Project, and I know you know Ryan, but we do free arts programming for queer youth, so they can make stuff like you, so they can make videos and music and multimedia projects. So
Well, I love that. I love everything that you're doing and in today's society and with everything that's going on politically. Not that we haven't always needed people like you and people who are doing the things that you're doing, but we need it now more than ever. So I'm so happy to know you, and I hope that this is the first of many times that we're going to be able to collaborate and work together on things.
oh, I hope so too. It's so good to meet you. Obviously, was listening to all your music today to pregame for this, which was fun. How we start at most of our workshops is we say our name, how we're feeling with our pronoun, and where we are currently. So I'll go first and then you'll go, just so you can
Okay.
see the format. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm Emma, and she's feeling jittery in Philadelphia.
I'm Todrick, and he's feeling grateful and exhausted, but alive and inspired in Los Angeles.
Okay. And is that a VHS wall?
Yes, it is. It is. It's a VHS wall. It's in my living room. And it was in like a little sub part of my living room, and all the VHSs are actually still in here. So
Oh my
if you
goodness.
ever come over and you want to watch any Disney movie from the 90s, I pretty much have every single one.
That feeling when you're like, I want to watch a movie, and you're like, let's look at the wall. Let's look
Yeah.
at the wall. Is
I
there a
love your
movie?
earrings.
Thank you. I was just like, I gotta look good for this live, you know?
Well, you crushed it, honey. You crushed
Oh,
it. You
thank
look
you.
so amazing.
So your VHS wall made me think about like how we kind of have queer awakenings as young people, whether we know it or not. Is there a movie that kind of like lit a fire under you and you were like, oh, that's my gay movie?
I would say the movie that honestly, I know I say this all the time, and my fans are gonna be like, "We get it, you like that movie," but Cinderella with Brandy in it when she liked Paula Montalban, the prince in that. I just loved him. I think he's Filipino, but it was what the reason why I started being like, I just want to marry a man and I want him to twirl me around at a ball in the way that he did with Brandy. So that's the thing that comes to mind initially. But I'm sure there were many more.
And it's so cool that you put out content that is like men loving men content. And so a little boy can see a man spinning around a man at the ball now. They don't
Yes,
have to
God.
imagine that they're Brandy,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So let's start in Plainview, Texas. We
Okay.
love. What was the first time you realized you were kind of different? You were like, ooh, I'm like pushing up against like heteronormativity, masculinity, expectations.
I think it was pretty early on, and I recently was talking to a guy, and it was difficult for me to like for us to be on the same page because I feel like that manipulation process or the societal norms start being thrust on you at a very young age. As far back as I can remember, it was always a problem with my biological father that I loved Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and I would go to the store and I would want to get the Ariel doll, and I would have to convince him that the reason I was getting the Ariel doll was because Flounder and Sebastian were in it, and that's why I really wanted it. And so those are like the earliest memories I have of that. But everything from how the way you ran, the way you laughed, the way you stood, the way you smiled, the way you waved. My mom would always be like, "Stop doing that Peter Pan wave that you do." Like she hated the wave that I did. And I think that she doesn't even remember saying those things, but they definitely had a huge impact on me. And it made me super self-conscious to wave at people. It was every little thing that you do that you don't realize. Um, that is sometimes that wouldn't be good enough or it wouldn't be the right way to wave. But I think I was emulating the waves that I saw people that I loved and admired, like my mom, who was basically a single mom my whole life. I think I just picked up those mannerisms, and so I just want to make sure that when I have children, because it's like now that like I have baby fever like nobody's business. And when I have kids, I think that I'm nervous that I'm going to overcorrect. I'm going to be, oh, like I will not allow my little girl to be in a pink room and only get Barbies and
Right.
easy bake ovens. Like I will make sure that they have everything and a choice of what they want to play with and what they want to do, and I'm going to support them no matter what lifestyle they choose.
That's wonderful. And I love that like Flounder and Sebastian are like masculinity to the nines. Like
I know,
you're like,
right?
don't worry, I love Flounder and Flounder is the definition of a man. Um, so when did you first know you were an artist? Because we all have like our queer coming out story, but when was your like, ooh, I'm my purpose is to make stuff.
When I was a kid, I would always try to recreate the Disney Christmas parades, like with my friends. And also, when I was like around 7 or 8 years old, I got tested for the Gifted and Talented program at my elementary school. So, and I got accepted, and we went to go see the Nutcracker. And so I think it was like a combination of the arts and crafts and like DIY projects I was doing at home mixed with going to see the Nutcracker and realizing that I was like really a lot more thrilled than all the other kids that were there with me. Like I loved it so much, and they were like, it was decent, or I don't want to see that again. And then it was also the Gifted and Talented program at my school, like just the fact that I was accepted into that, and they would teach us how to like write plays and things like that in elementary school. I think around the same time, all of those things were happening, and those are the things that made me realize that that's what I wanted to do with my life, is to be a creative. It was just in my blood to be a creative person.
Totally. Yeah, that it was like all early arts education, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and I think that's another thing. It's so important for people to be exposed to these things at a young age and for them to have options. I went to a school that was not that great of a school, and I actually got called a horrible racial slur when I was in elementary school. And in a lot of ways, even though that is a horrible thing that happened to me, it was one of the best things that happened to me because my mom refused to let me go to that school anymore. She pulled me out, and the school district, in order to avoid a huge lawsuit or any like like ruffling of any feathers in the town, they let my mom choose what school she wanted me to go to, and she put me in the
Wow.
school with the like with the wealthy white kids, and so when I walked into that school, I recognized that it smelled different, and that the books like were nicer and more fresh, and the computers were newer, um, and I think I learned a lot of skills there, like how to adapt in environments that were going to be able to make me be successful. And while I'm grateful, it makes me really sad that there are so many talented kids that are probably at these inner city schools or in urban communities where they're not getting taken to go see the Nutcracker, to even know what a ballet is, to know what a Broadway show is. They're not being like given the tools. I think that sometimes people subconsciously or intentionally put the best teachers, the most qualified teachers, the most passionate teachers at the schools where they want the kids to succeed the most, because the quality of the teacher at the new school that I went to was just night and day different from where I had previously been. And so I think that I'm just grateful for the opportunities and the things I was exposed to as a young kid because I went to that school. But it saddens me that a lot of people don't get those opportunities.
Completely. And if you're watching right now and you're like, I'm one of those people, click on our link in our bio and we have free arts programming for you twice a week, maybe more. So take advantage of that
I
absolutely free
love that.
resource.
I
So
love that you do
fun.
that. It's so cool. It's
It's
so amazing.
dream job, dream job. And we're all everyone on the team is an autobiographical artist. So we hope we can, help young people take their insides and communicate them to the outside, kind of like you do. Were you always making autobiographical art? Were you making fiction at first? Like, what was your journey with that?
I think a lot of the things that I initially did were fiction, and for most of my channel, it was based on fairy tales and whimsical things that were otherworldly and fantastical. Because I think that the reason I love The Wizard of Oz so much is because I felt like I was this kid trapped in a town like Dorothy felt, and I wanted to go someplace more colorful. I knew that I didn't belong in Plainview, Texas, and that wasn't where I was supposed to be to do what I was destined to do. So it took me a long time to start doing things that were more autobiographical. Um, because I think I was just afraid of the vulnerability that comes along with that, about telling your story and living your true authentic self. That's a process that takes a long time. And now I don't want to say it's easier for kids, but they're, because of the internet and because they can go on the internet and see that a gay person is not what their parents or grandparents might have trained them
Mm-hmm.
to believe. They can see for themselves a fully realized human being that they fall in love with and feel like that person is their best friend. And so I think we're able to change that narrative a lot. And I think that there's so many television shows, not enough television shows, but there's a lot more diversity on television than there was in the 90s when I was growing up, with people being rewarded and celebrated for their authenticity and their unique like views and their unique style and the way they dress, and that being a sheep is not necessarily like the only way to be cool. Like being different and being special and out of the box can also be cool and celebrated. And so because people have that, I think that we're like nurturing a group of people that, even though the world is in the scariest time that I can ever remember, it also feels like promising that change is coming, you know?
Yeah, being able to look on a screen, see someone like you, and find a community with people like you.
Yeah.
And when you were kind of getting chastised at school and being like told to wave a certain way or not wave this way, how did you find community, and how did you, check on your heart and still get up every day?
I didn't really check on my heart, and mental health is not something that was like a topic of conversation in the town and in the community that I was like raised
Mm-hmm.
in. It wasn't even something that like I remember hearing about until I was far out of high school and was working in the industry. But I think just naturally, I tend to be an optimistic person. I tend to look at my glass half full, and so I think that I just didn't really have that problem as much as other people just naturally do. And I'm really grateful that my DNA makeup causes me to be positive and look at the positivity in most situations. Um, but I just was so passionate about performing. And I think that my friend group outside of school, the people that I did ballet with and theater with, and the kids that would come over and help me paint and make paper mache creatures and things, I think those are the people that were like my support group, even though at that time I didn't know that I was gay for sure, and I didn't talk about those things. But I think just having a group of people who, had they known, I knew would have accepted me, was enough to help me feel supported and like I had a community.
That's why right now is so weird, because we can't have that in-person community and we can't have like hugs with our friends. It's so
I
bizarre.
know, I know. It's really, it's so sad because the human interaction is something that we desperately need. And for me, my form of therapy is going to watch performers and theme parks, cruise ships, and mostly on Broadway. And I haven't been able to see a live show and hear an orchestra or hear anybody sing in a long time. And it sounds like a first world problem, but it's really been bothering me that I can't go and watch a musical. So I hope that we can get this COVID thing under lock and get back to life as we once knew it soon, because I just really miss being in the theater and being able to perform and being able to meet my fans and traveling the world. And this is the first year in like 7 years I'm not going on tour because we just can't. So
Right.
it's a good time for us to reflect, but I have reflected enough and I'm ready to get back out and be active again.
Yes, you're like, we're done looking inward. Thank you, Miss Rona.
I am very
Um,
confident today with this no filter that I'm doing. 1 second.
oh, I didn't even know you had no filter.
Yeah,
Are
now
you
I
into
have a
the
filter.
filter?
I'm very into the filter, especially right now because my skin is not where it should be. But yeah,
Oh, where should our skin even be? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's fair.
Should I put, this is my filter, my gay juice,
I love that. That's really
right?
cute.
Just
Yeah.
was a little thirsty. Need my little gay juice.
You feel better
So
now?
I feel like so quenched, so like,
Good.
can you tell the difference, kind of?
I can. Your voice
Okay,
sounds a little bit more moist, more alive.
there you go. Gotta have a moist voice when you're on IGTV. But anyway, I don't think it's a first world problem. I think it's so valid because like there's art therapy and there's music therapy. Like it's a healing experience for people. And sometimes if you don't have community, the arts is the only place where you can see yourself. And you're like, oh, they're weird like me, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
So
1000% agree.
I validate that that missing the art because I miss it too. Um, is there a difference collaborating with queer people versus people that are not queer? Because you are like collaboration royalty. Everyone wants to work with you. So iconic. And what is the difference of working with someone who understands your experience? Even like working with like a black creator versus a non-black creator.
To me, my honest answer is like I don't usually see a difference because I feel like my the I feel like the specific community that I hang out with, like I wouldn't collaborate with a white person, or I haven't so far collaborated with a white person that I was aware wasn't like so pro Black Lives Matter and so pro equality and diversity and inclusion. And I feel like a lot of my projects haven't been super black or super white or super gay. Even the projects that are gay, there are sometimes straight men there playing those characters. Like my true goal for my channel was to bring all of these worlds together, and I think we did that in most situations. Sometimes I forget what it's like to be on a set full of people who are that just look like you and have your same sense of humor. On the set of Forbidden, I really loved shooting the videos because it was like hairspray, so there were big scenes where everyone had to be African American and big scenes where everyone had to be white. In fact, in one of the scenes, because there was like all this drama when there we took this like like this picture that was an impromptu like little scene that we did for Taylor Swift's video, and there was a lot of people that called it out, saying like there's this racism, this segregation, there's black people on one side and people of like a fairer skin on the other side, and it was a total accidental thing that we were just standing in that position, and we got up there. Taylor wasn't even there when it happened. Like she was like standing around nearby, like at the screen, and then she walked up and stood in her spot, and I was like, I think that this is a little unfair, and I feel like if I did this exact same thing intentionally, it wouldn't be called out. And I have a video called "Them Beats," which I don't know if I've even ever said this, but I specifically split all the black and white people. And if you go watch that video, all the black
Really?
dancers are on one side and all the white dancers on the other side. And no one has ever called me out about that ever. Like no one has noticed about it because I do think that it is a people go into situations certain times with people that they don't like or people that they don't support, and they look for reasons to complain or to find problems with that person's art. And so my personal experience, it's every experience is just different. Sure, like when you're doing something with an all gay cast, there's going to be a lot of jokes, a lot of witty banter, a lot of tongue popping, a lot of like funny memeable quotable moments.
Right.
And those are days that I look forward to. But in general, I've been really happy with not just the diversity that has been seen on camera by the people watching the videos, but the diversity I felt on camera, like on set, and with the people behind the camera as well.
Totally. That's so true. When you're hanging out with all queer people, it's like memes, memes, memes.
I know, right? I
Someone
just
I
love being gay and I love gay people. I just love gay people so much. I think that they're just like the most special people that God or the universe, whatever you believe in, created. I hardly know any gay people who aren't creative and don't have a cool perspective and cool sense of style. I just think we're such unicorns. And I was in Atlanta this weekend and I got to meet a bunch of like gay guys that I had never met before. And I just love our style and our lingo and the community that we've created for ourselves. I'm so like they talk about gay pride, and I used to just say that and not really understand what it means. But now I am so proud to be gay. It's not like I'm just accepting it and I'm okay with it and I'm just allowing it to happen. I'm so proud. It's like a badge of honor for me to be a part of this, like what I feel is an elite, special, unique community.
totally. I feel exactly the same way. What was like did you always feel proud? Were you always like, I love my gayness?
No, no, not always at all. There was a lot of moments. I think a lot of gay people will say there's moments that they wish they weren't gay when they were coming out. It's hard to be gay. It's hard to go to school and focus on the things you're supposed to focus on when you're getting called fag and sissy and all these things that are like really offensive and they hurt you. And that's why I wrote a song called Fag last year, because I wanted to like reclaim that word and talk about how like people throwing those sticks and stones at me actually helped me, encourage me to like fight harder and to prove them wrong. And one of the coolest things I like about my personal life experience is that I'm not a person that like, and not in all situations. There are some situations where I definitely am still bitter, but for the most part, like I'm pretty forgiving if I feel like the person is sincere with their apology, and I'm also willing to apologize if I feel like I'm in the wrong. But I've had a lot of friends from high school that used to bully me and say horrible, mean things to me and terrorized me my whole high school career. Now have had children of their own who identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community. And for me to get a DM from somebody that bullied me in high school with them asking for a ticket to my show because it's sold out and they can't get a ticket, and nothing would make their child more happy than for them to get to come to the concert. And for me to say, not only am I going to get you a ticket, I'm going to give you a VIP ticket, I'm going to meet your child. I can't tell you how many tears I've shed like watching my friend that bullied me say, I'm sorry, I had no idea the way life was going to hand me a deck of cards I would have never thought that I would get. And now it breaks my heart to know that the things I have to console my child for doing are the things that I did to someone else's child. And he's like, it just makes you have a different perspective. I'm talking about someone in particular that this just happened on my last tour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that it was so I wasn't upset. It was, to me, I was like, this is like what, like Mufasa, the circle of life. It makes you feel so good to be able to see someone's mind and heart change because it has now affected their life, and see them navigate through the world differently, and to be able to be a person, to be the bigger person and say, I don't hate you, I don't harbor any resentment towards you, I still love you and I have love for you, and I'm wishing them the best for their children and their journey, because it is difficult to be gay, and it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm actually proud of being gay. And I love the fact that I've devoted my time and my effort and my energy and my talent to making art for an underserviced community that I feel like we don't get a lot of content. And sometimes there have been moments where I'm like, would this be more successful if I made it more universal? Potentially. But for me, like, to be able to inspire people who have my similar background and who already don't have a lot of things that are specifically catered towards them is like the thing that I'm so the most grateful that I've been able to contribute to the entertainment industry. Is like music where a man is singing about another man and having a crush on them, and there's nothing sexual about it. It's just about love, and there's not a lot of that happening, and I'm really, really proud of the fact that I'm one of the few content creators making that kind of art.
So awesome. Just like male romance rather than like
Yeah,
sexualizing everything. We need more of
yeah,
that.
we
We need
do.
more love.
We love to see it.
And people really could go the other way with someone who bullied them and not offer them the free tickets. And that just like is a testament to how gracious and amazing you are. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I
I don't know if
appreciate
I
you
would
saying
do
that.
that. I'd like to think I would, but
But when you see the kid, you have to like separate your personal
right,
feelings about that person. And I know that like hurt people hurt people. I know that in that moment, the person just thinks it's funny and they don't realize how much pain it's going to necessarily cause you. Or maybe they do, but they're 12 and 13 at the time. And we
right,
have to allow people to evolve and grow up. And I think if you're big enough to reach out to someone and say, I'm sorry, that there's a lot of people, even though that's a very simple thing to do, it's just two words, but they're so difficult for so many people to do. If you can do that, I'm big enough to say I forgive you. Hi,
totally.
Duncan. I love you.
We have a question from the audience.
Okay.
How has quarantine been? Kind of a general question.
Quarantine has been good. It's been, for me, like, I know that it's really scary for some people, but for me, it's been a time to reflect and focus on my mental health and what I need and what I actually want to be doing in life and what I'm like doing creatively. And I've written so much music and worked on a musical that I'm really excited about writing. So it's been a
Yay!
time to like unplug and calm down and like get back to Todrick and have time to like be with myself and not have to be wearing a dress made out of cups.
Right.
Mhm.
Is getting motivation to create during quarantine difficult? Because I know personally for me, I like I'm really down on myself that I'm not creating enough or doing enough.
I think it's that's a hard question to answer because it depends on the day that you ask me. Today, yeah, it
Right.
is rough, but some days I get inspired. I think that quarantine for most people has been a roller coaster where sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm grateful that I get to be lazy today, and the next day you're freaking out because you don't know how you're gonna be able to eat the next month, and then the next day you're like, you know what? I should be productive. I'm gonna decorate my house, and then the next day you're like, what's the point of decorating the house? No one can come over. I can't see
Right.
anyone. You know, like, and so for me it's just been a humongous roller coaster of emotions, and I'm just happy that I have been for the most part in a positive state, and there have been really bad moments and moments that I like have had to apologize to people because I'm realizing that I'm responding to things in a way I would not normally have if we weren't in such uncertain times. But I do think that I've done a lot of self work, and I'm in a really happy place mentally that I wasn't at when quarantine started.
Right. Checking in on your heart now in a way you couldn't when you were younger, it sounds like.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Is mental health like a big thing you advocate for?
One, yeah, absolutely. I don't feel like I take enough time to advocate for it, but I definitely feel strongly about it. But my mental health has not been something that has been like an overwhelming struggle for me, and I feel like there are people who can really identify with that more than I do. And I think I already have so many causes that I want to write and create music about, but I definitely do talk about it in my shows, on my channel, when I meet fans, when I'm talking to just friends and family, and it's something I think is should be put at everyone's top priority to focus on, because sometimes you can get so overwhelmed with work and trying to chase success that you don't take care of yourself. I can't tell you how many amazing experiences I've had and how many amazing tours I've been on and places that I've gone that I would have never thought someone from a small town like Plainview, Texas would be able to do. And I'm so grateful for the people like Beyonce and Taylor Swift who have given me the opportunities to be able to be in rooms that I would have normally not been in on my own. Um, but there have been times that I've been in those situations and not been happy. And it's an active choice that I've had to rewire my brain to be like, you need to make this, you need to have a great time, because 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, you're going to look back on this moment and realize how cool this was. And now I am
Totally.
walking through life and really embracing everything as it happens. And it's something I actively make a conscious decision to do every day when I wake up.
I love like picturing your future self being like, you should have soaked that in more. Um, what would you say now to little Todrick?
To little Todrick, I would say you're going to figure this out and it's not going to be easy. And a lot of the people that you think understand you and you think that you are like and you think you have a lot of similarities to are you're going to have to leave behind, because their mindset is not going to be where yours is. But because you leave that behind, and while still loving those people from your past, you're able to rise to be the human being that you're supposed to be. And hopefully I can go back and help those people later, and hopefully I can inspire a whole new generation of people to be able to do the things that you think that you can do, little Todrick, but you don't believe yet that you can do. And eventually you are going to believe it, and once you believe it, you'll be unstoppable.
Oh, I think we all need to give little us a hug. It feels so good to
I
do.
know it does. It does.
I worry about little me with weird highlights in the middle of her front bangs. You know what I mean? I worry
Yeah,
about her. Hope she's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, I think she's going to turn out good, and she's going to have an impeccable taste in earrings.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell her. I'll let her know.
Okay, please do.
Um, Last question because we're nearing the end. Do you have a piece of advice for queer youth right now that look up to you and want to make art like you do?
I would say, yes, be fearless. Like, don't try to make yourself a sheep. The reason why you were cut from this cloth is because you are so unique already. And I think that you should find whatever makes you special. Like, um, and run with that. No matter how many people tell you that it's not the greatest thing and that it's different and it's weird and it's odd and it's too quirky and it'll never sell, you are the only person in the world that has to believe in you, no one else. And I think life is too short to make decisions based on what other people who are not having to live and walk in your shoes or hills have to think about it. So do you, and be brave, and know that you just being your authentic self is helping change the world, is helping inspire people who are less brave to get to your level of bravery. And yeah, just be confident in who you are.
So wonderful. My one last question I just remembered while you're saying that, when you're talking about like thinking you're too quirky and too weird and having to like fit in a mold, you do so many things. You're like this incredible multi-hyphenate artist. Was there ever pressure to choose one, or were you always like, I want to do it all? Because a lot of the young people that come to our program, they're like, oh, I wrote a song, but I'm really a writer. And I'm like, you can do both.
Yeah, well, yes, and I still have that pressure now. I want to say hi to It's Body Breaker because I love him so much. Yeah, I have that pressure even still now. I think like if you just only focused on music, think of where you would be if you didn't stop every year and go do a Broadway musical. If you weren't also trying to be a judge on RuPaul's Drag Race and also a choreographer and also on reality shows, and if you know, like if you just focused on one thing, you'd be amazing at that one thing. And there are times I get concerned that I'm going to be a jack of all trades, master of none. But I now realize that if I'm having fun and if my heart is fulfilled, then that is like the thing that is truly most important to me. Because I do like so many things and I have been given all these gifts and I want to use all of them, not just some of them.
Oh, so true. Thank you so, so much for your time. It was
Thank
so
you.
wonderful meeting you. And if you are here right now and inspired by this conversation and want to create, we have free arts workshops for you every Tuesday and Saturday for queer youth and allies ages 13 through 19. If you're out of that age range, sign up anyway. There's a place for you. And every Monday, we'll have incredible guests like Todrick to kind of talk about queer journeys with and music and all of that good stuff. So thank you again for your time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Hope you pick the perfect movie off the wall to watch.
I
And
will.
um,
Awesome. It's a
hope
pleasure to
to,
meet you. What you're doing is so amazing and so needed. It's so cool. I wish that I would have had this when I was 13 to 19 or slightly older and still like having a little bit of Peter Pan syndrome. I would love to be involved in something like this, and I hope that some of my fans get involved in this because it's such a cool project.
so awesome. Thank you so much. We'd love to have you sometime if you want to do a workshop.
I would
Always, the
love
door's
to.
always open. All
Let's make
right,
it happen.
let's do it. All right, have a good night. Thanks,
All right. Good
everybody.
night. Bye.